Alright, welcome to this video, and in this video what I'm going to be talking about is a fight that I had with this fish. I'm actually going to do something new, and the new thing is I'm going to break down some of the fights that I had with these fish this season. If you follow the channel, you'll know that I've been posting a lot of content about just a raw kind of fishing video, and right now I'm going to talk about specific fights and break down what I was thinking, what I was trying to do, and I thought what better of a way to start this off than to break down one of the worst things that I did this fall in a bass that I should have lost, and what I should have done differently, and what was going through my head to make me do what I did. So in this video, this is kind of an infamous video, I did a whole video of these 3 very large bass that were all over 45 inches that I caught this fall, and I basically should have lost all 3 of them in different ways, but I'm going to break down each of those fights in much more detail, including this fight, especially the beginning of this, but we're just going to focus on the end of it where I got smashed by a wave and the line wrapped around my leg and the fish was hooked by one hook point, and somehow I still ended up landing this very large bass. Alright, so it's kind of interesting what was going on right here. The bass was digging deep at the very end, which is a very common thing for the fish to do. So in my mind, I was like, you know what I'm going to try to do is raise this fish up. So you're going to see me, kind of walk down to where I'm going to land this fish, and I'm reeling up, trying to pull this fish up onto the rock, which is what I did right there. And you can see there's a big swell coming in, and there wasn't a ton of those happening. And so I'm looking down, I have my boat grip out, and I'm like, do I have time to grab this fish? No. Boom. I get hit by the wave, the bass wraps around my foot, and I should have lost that fish. So let's replay that a bit, and we'll kind of break it down a little more right here. So the fish right now is digging down, and so what I'm doing is I'm waiting at the moment. I'm waiting and raising this fish up right here. And so now it's kind of broken on the surface, and when a fish breaks, the surface a lot of the time will mostly give up. So I got it to break, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna land this fish. It was slanted on the top of these rocks. That was pretty mellow slant to them, so I'm able to walk down there like this. At this point, let's pause it right here. At this point, I have my boat grip out, and I'm thinking about, all right, I see the wave, and I'm like, do I have time to bogey this fish and then just get hit by the wave? And then I realized at the last second, I was like, no, this thing's coming too hot. I'm gonna get hit by it. So really what I would have liked to do is get this fish around the rock to a more calmer area. It's not that calm. And I know I got a ton of comments about like, oh, you should be wearing, PFDs and whatever. So there was kind of a bay, like where there's a lot of rocks breaking the surf. So I knew that I didn't have to worry about getting washed away necessarily. So I wasn't super scared about that. But again, to just reiterate, what was going through my head is, okay, I've broken the fish. I knew it was hooked only by one hook point, which you can't really see in this video, or maybe you can once I bring it around the rock, but it was only hooked by one hook point. So I'm like, okay, I need to land this fish now or else I'm gonna lose it. And that's what prompted me to just get the bass to be laying against the seaweed. It's a little bit of a flatter edge than this on the other side. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let it lay flat against the rock and then go down and grab it quick. There was swells, but not like this. Like this was a very big swell for that day. And I was not expecting that to, of course, there to be like one of the bigger swells that comes through, that like come through when I'm trying to land the fish, but it did. So what I was trying to do here is really get that fish up onto the rock and then slowly reach down and grab him. But that didn't happen. So let's play this again, and you'll see I'm like, all right, there's a split second where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get hit by this wave. And so when I get hit by the wave, I try to flatten myself out a little bit, get good purchase, take the hit. It's not gonna be bad. I knew I wasn't probably gonna get washed off because these waves weren't super powerful. They were pretty big, but they didn't have a lot of power behind them, so I knew I was probably not going to get washed off the rock. The thing that I was not counting on is the wave to wash the fish up and around my foot. And when that happened, it wrapped the line around my foot. So I very quickly lifted my foot up and went like this, which you'll see here, and that's me trying to unwrap my foot. And that would have been tragic if the line ended up holding onto my leg, because it would have just, pulled the hook right out of the fish's mouth. But thankfully, the fish was hooked well enough that didn't happen. So let's play it. You'll focus on, me trying to get my leg unattached from the line, and how I kind of brace myself for the wave here. So I see the wave, I sit back, and then I release the fish from my leg. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do here is, I know that the fish got out and it's hooked by one hook point in the chin. I'm like, all right, the fight's begun again. And now I looked out and immediately I was like, okay, is there any other waves coming? And I'm like, yeah, but they're not huge. So I was like, I'm fine where I'm at right now. Let me just move this out of the way. I'm fine where I'm at right now. What I'm gonna do here is kind of bring the fish around the rock, because I was thinking again, can I get it? And I'm like, you know what, screw this. If I try to grab the fish right now, I'm probably gonna get hit by another wave. But the thing that was going through my mind is, the longer this fish is in the water, the more time it has to open that hook point up and pop out. So I was trying to make that call whether or not I should try to swing this bass around the rock, and is it more likely to come undone there, or is it more likely to come undone if I try to do this? And this sucked too. The wave sucked it out, and you gotta be patient here, and this is something that I really want to stress. You've already won the fight here. You just have to be super patient when it comes to the fish getting washed around right here. So you can see how I finally found a position where I could get that fish into kind of a little shallow thing with bubbleweed and whatever, where I could easily get my boga on it and secure the fish. So let's go back again. So I just get hit by the wave. I'm thinking, is it more likely for me to be able to land the fish right now, or am I going to be more likely to pull the hooks if I try to swing it around the rock? I decided it's probably more likely I'm going to lose the fish trying to land it there. I'm going to swing it around the rocks, which is what I probably should have done in the first place. But then you got to be really patient here. So this is where most fish are lost. All right, I didn't quite get him up into the thing. I got to go with this fish. He's barely hooked. So I'm going to try to keep tension, but not put any pressure on that hook, unnecessary pressure to lose the fish. I should have lost the fish there as well. And then you see how that's what I should have been doing from the get-go. Let's replay that one more time. And you want to be really patient. So I'm trying to make that decision right now. Is this the best place to land the fish? I made the call. I'm like, you know what? I think the hooks are going to stay pinned on this fish. I'm going to try to swing him around up into this tide pool the first place, but then he gets stuck on this rock and I'm like, shit, so I slide back down. You have to go with that fish. If you don't go with that fish, you're going to lose it. And that's where I would say most people end up losing their bass, is when they're trying to mess around like this with it. Best case scenario, you just grab the fish. I'm trying to be erring more on the side of trying to not grab the fish under its gills. So, because a lot of guys would have just immediately, in the first place, just grabbed the fish right underneath the gill plate. And they would have just grabbed that fish and secured it. I'm trying to be really nice on the fish. I'm trying to not grab it by the gills as best I can. I am using a boga grip, but I am trying to support the belly of the fish, and I immediately walk it up and over to where I can revive it and release it in a much more chilled space for me and the fish. But we can go back around to this one more time. You can see that, because the amount of bass that I've lost trying to lead them around places is a lot. So I really would prefer to land it right now, even after I got hit by that wave. But then I'm like, shit, I should probably try to swing it around the rock. And that's what was going through my head. And I'm like, it's probably more likely for me to land it the way that the thing's hooked, by one hook point in the chin, which generally means that hook's gonna bend when that happens too. I was fortunately fishing a light enough drag where it didn't bend, and for it to be a very light hook, you gotta think about those things. And then this sucks, but you gotta just go with the fish again. That's if I can't stress one thing more, it would be go with the fish in those scenarios. Let that fish get sucked back out. Just maintain tension, but play it really nice and chilled. and then I got into a better landing position where I was able to secure the fish. I'm behind the rock, so it's going to break the wave. And notice, there's no swells right now, or there's hardly any coming through. If it was like this, I probably would have landed the fish in the first place. Yeah, there's like one rolling in right now, but I would have had enough time to probably land that fish, and it's not nearly as big as what I was dealing with in the first place. So again, super nice bass. I was super stoked to have caught that fish. If you like this video and this style of videos, please leave me a comment below. I'm gonna do this for the whole fight of this fish, many other fish, the tactics that I used to, get into his position to hook fish like this. I would say this fall run was one of the hardest to catch really big bass. So the fact that I was able to catch some of the bigger bass that were caught in my area I'm super lucky and fortunate. I spent a lot of time trying to get onto these bass, and so you get lucky every once in a while and you can pull one out like I did, or 3 out in this scenario. But to be honest, that was it for me this season. I know that there's a few other schools of nice fish that were around, but I wasn't fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time for those. But that's, again, like, this is stuff for another day. But so specifically what I was going to say is I'm going to try to make some breakdown videos on the different tactics that I used, different scenarios that I was in and what I was going through my head, maybe what I should have done differently in a scenario like this, or, what you're going to be trying to do in the future. So on that point, one thing that I want to do in the future is, before I get to a spot, I want to try to make a decision on where I'm going to be landing that fish. And that is something that I did initially. I saw that the rock had a nice slope there. I wasn't counting on the fact that there was a big wave coming. I thought that if I hooked a big fish, I'd be able to get down there and boga grip it, and just pick the fish up and carry it over the rock nice and easily. But I wasn't counting on the fact that there was going to be monster swells coming in. So in some scenario, I wouldn't say I did the worst thing imaginable, but I was pretty much up there with one of the dumber things I could have done, which was trying to land a bass when there's a giant swell coming. As soon as I got down there and looked up, because you always want to check what's going on, even if it's like a calm day, you want to make sure there's nothing weird coming at you. So I got down there and I looked up and I saw that wave. And it was just a very unfortunate event in total, but I should have picked a better spot to land that fish. Although what was going through my head is, I know this fish is hooked bad, I want to land it as fast as possible. And that was the only things that I was thinking about at that time. So that kind of keys you into what I was thinking, and why I tried to land that fish there. But in hindsight, I should have at the beginning led that fish around the rock and landed it behind that rock there. I would have had a better, more secure landing. So for you guys in the future, if you're trying to land fish, definitely try to bring them into calmer areas like I did eventually in this video. I was super lucky to have landed that fish. I should have lost it. I should have bent the hook out on that fish and lost it. It rubbed me against some rocks at one point and I should have lost it. And then I 100% should have lost it. When I got hit by the wave and the thing wrapped around my leg, I should have lost it when it washed up onto the rock there and slid back down. So you guys saw a whole bunch of things that should have made me lose that fish, and somehow I got lucky enough to land that fish. And the funny thing is, that's how it goes sometimes. The times where you should have lost the fish tend to be the times that you'll land it, and then the times you should land the fish, you'll tend to lose it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.